Hi friends, welcome back to my channel, and today we'll be trying out some of the cheap art supplies you can find in my country. Of course, before I get started, I do have to give out my disclaimers. I live near a major highway here in the country of Belize, so you will hear those motor vehicles in my background. You'll even hear them more so now because I have the window open. Secondly, where I live, it's basically the wild, so you will hear all kind of creatures chirping, calling, crying in my background. And thirdly, I have dogs. And if anyone comes near the house, because I also have neighbors now, so if anyone comes near the house, you will hear my dogs start barking. And with that, I get back to my regular scheduled program. Gosh, it's starting to rain. Okay, I'm hoping I put the vlog up before I do this video, but if I don't, I went to one of the local stores in my country. It's a store I've been meaning to visit, and I was in that area, and so I decided to take a walk over there, and I went and checked out what art supplies they've had. And like most stores in the country of Belize, minus the stores that actually do cater for student to professional artists, they had mostly kids art supplies. They had the Angry Bird color pencil. I also got a pencil and some basic watercolors. Now, I had previously swatched out the basic the basic coloring pencils, and I could tell you about these color pencils in a bit more detail because I did swatch these out. I did not do an illustration with them. I just basically swatched them out to see what kind of color range I was getting. Let me pull this swatch sheet out. It's kind of stuck. OMG. Excuse me. Okay. It kind of got hooked. There's a over wrapped here in the, this is metal, but if you look inside here, it kind of overwraps and the swatch sheet got caught in there. But it comes in this metal tube like cylinder. It has a plastic cap with a sharpener in it. I don't think the sharpener is removable, but it does look like you can wedge the sharpener out of there if you have a little force covered. And with this you get 12 colors. Let me go to this side. Now these are the colors you get, and of course I did superimpose the color and then do a light shade. If you're not seeing any color names, that's because these don't come with any form of writing on the pencils or on the container it came in. It just says Angry Bird 12 color pencils. That's it, and it has the Made in China logo, and it has the picture of the Angry Birds, red I believe, and the pencils are hexagonal, but again there's nothing printed on the pencils to say what colors they are or a color indicating number. Just has red all over it, and some of the other characters from the Angry Bird movies and the Angry Bird phone games for those people who play the game. But it does gives you a fairly okay color range. The only thing I was disappointed with when I swatched these out is that I only got one blue. You know, I'm used to getting a warm blue and a cool blue, but it gave us one blue, one cool looking blue. It did give us a warm and a cool version of yellow. It gave us some browns, it gave us some greens, it gave us a red and pink, a purple. It did give us another color here, which is kind of like a warmer red or pink. Give us a gray and a black, but there's only one blue. The rain is really pouring down, and as I said, there is no color indicated code here. I know with other watercolor pencils, at least they will color the cap with the what pigment's supposed to be in there, but sorry for that. abrupt interruption. My husband just asked me to come and quickly look at something. Like I was saying, it doesn't have any color indicator here to tell me what pigment is in here, and so it'll be, I won't say difficult, but it will certainly be a setback to constantly only be looking at the point of the lead to see the color that I need. And I have to be extra careful when looking at the point of the lead, because especially like for the reds, if I don't see them in the proper lighting, it will be very, very, you know, a little tricky to distinguish them. Okay? And I think the orange and the brown, yeah, it's a little tricky to distinguish those two, and the two greens, the light and the dark green. It'll be a little tricky to distinguish them too without proper lighting. So good thing I have on all my lights. Now when it comes to the blending of these pencils, I was a little impressed. So I have yellow and blue here, which are two of my favorite colors to blend, and I was slowly impressed. Color intensity is not as bright as I would say other colors, but it does give you a nice coverage. Yes, it's a little streaky, and I'm actually blending the colors here, and I'm using the only blue and the warm yellow that's provided. And the reason why I say this is probably a very cool blue is because the type of green that's provided is, it's kind of like the type of green you get when you mix ultramarine blue with a yellow. As you can see here, it's not a really bright green, and because of that I think this is a very cool blue. See? Oh, the rain is really pouring out there. So it does give you, you know, somewhat good coverage. And with that, we end the closer look at these coloring pencils. And now we'll be looking more closely at the watercolor paints. Okay, the rain has seemed to calm down. These basic watercolors is basic. Sorry, someone's probably passing the house. And has a little swatch area here. Has a little overpiece to kind of like tells you the brand of these watercolor paints. And oh boy, it has these brushes, these amazing, not really workable brushes. Let me see if I could pop it out. I will be substituting this brush for my own brush, so I will be using my 3 watercolor brushes with this as a substitute for this one brush. Yeah, this is so amazing that I had to use 3 of these brushes just a substitute for this one brush. It's a good brush. But I'm not going to use them. I'm going to use my 3 water brushes. And unlike the color pencils, I haven't swatched these out yet. So you will see me do this swatching during this, because I haven't swatched them out yet. And you will get my honest reaction. So let's go. Okay, so as you would expect, the colors are pretty bright. Expect, because cheaper watercolors does have a lot of filler to brighten the colors. However, they're pretty staining. I'm sure this was an almost white brush before I started to do all this, and now it is stained. No, mind you, it is clean, but it's stained. The colors that were heavily staining was this color, this violetly color, this blue, and these greens. They were all very staining. And it wasn't until I swatched it out, it was when I realized that this is probably a gray and this is the black. Because there's no color names on the, and nothing underneath here. This is just a cheap plastic. The colors are still wet, so I don't wanna, this is just cheap plastic in here. So you could use these areas here as mixing surfaces, because this is just cheap plastic, you can't detach itself. So yeah, the colors are pretty bright, and some of them are very, very staining. So be careful when your kids are playing with this stuff, especially if they're playing in clothes that you don't want them to stain. Be careful, okay? Now, since we have swatched them out, now let's do a little thumbnail or a little illustration and see what we're gonna draw. I'm all drawn up, I'm all lined up, and now it's time for us to get all color up. I am using my palette sticks for this demonstration. I have them playing on a little leaf here. I know in the initial sketch I had the leaf, yeah, I had a vein in the leaf, but for this one I forgot, so let's put it back. So yeah, I have my little palette sticks here playing on a leaf. Of course, they're near their mushrooms. And now let's color this. This is a white gel pen, but it finished. So what I normally do with it, I'm not sure if I showed that, is that when I'm doing tracing, I will use this to superimpose the impression, because I'm sure I will put the graphite portion in this, so I could superimpose the graphite on the backing. And that way I don't have to cause any distortion to my original drawing, because this just kind of scores it, so it doesn't really mess up the drawing if I would have used a pen or a pencil. So let's get to the coloring, shall we? Okay, I am all finished. As expected, the scratchiness or the streakiness of this coloring pencil wasn't really desirable, and so I kind of only used it for the ground here. I should tell you that the type of paper that I'm using is actually Canson XL watercolor paper, so it's actually a cheap challenge all around. But all in all, the paints were easily rewettable, you know, they're easily rewettable. I didn't had difficulty like I felt I was battling while coloring, so while painting. It dispersed evenly. There was some movement and gradation with the paints, so I was slightly impressed. But all in all, it's a great practice piece for your kids. I like it. I love it. I love how my little palette sticks come out. And thank you so much. Thank you guys for joining me on this journey. And as usual, stay safe, stay blessed, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.